Call this meeting to order. Roll call. Council at Large Cummins.
Here.
At Large Spear.
Here.
Council Ward number 1 Leeper.
Here.
Ward number 2 Anderson.
Here.
And Ward number 3 McNeil.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
To the agenda, there are no additions. Is there an approval for this agenda? McNeil with the first. Second. And Leeper with the second.
McNeil? Cummins? Anderson?
Yeah.
Spear? Yes. Leeper?
Yes. All right, so to communications, and we do have one scheduled today. It's Mike Moore. So Mr. Moore, if you don't mind making your way to the podium, address the council.
We had kind of an issue with the ambulance service here about 2 weeks ago. I had to call my wife, and no response at all from Tipton. So they called Bennett. We got no response. So they ended up calling Johnson County. And in the meantime, about 10 minutes after we called Johnson County, the Bennett ambulance showed up. No EMT. So they loaded her up. We were gonna meet the Johnson County ambulance down at the Cummins. Got down there, they sat there for 15 minutes or better. Couldn't find each other, apparently. It's not that big a place. And in the meantime, I drove to the hospital. I was there 15 minutes before the ambulance even got there. Is there a reason why our ambulance didn't respond? Bennett had no EMTs. Tipton apparently had no EMTs. So why did we not get a response from Tipton? Anybody answer this one?
Do you have other questions? Is that your basic question?
Yes.
Brad, can you come up and?
I am sorry for what happened to you.
Address the whole, everybody, I want to hear.
Oh, I understand. Nonetheless, you know, this is something that we've been talking about now for a couple of years, and the struggle is that volunteerism is just an absolute struggle. And no matter how hard we push, there always seems to be a gap. And unfortunately, you fell into that gap that day where we didn't have the crew to respond to you. I can't speak for anything for Bennett or for Johnson County. I have no control over that. It's something we need the help for. It's something that we know it's been coming, and it's something we need to look into. This has been, without question, our most difficult year when it comes to responses. We've been seeing more and more volunteers just not have enough time, and it's certainly something we need to help with, but I am sorry.
Is there any reason why we can't hire a couple of EMTs to fill in these gaps, or?
You're looking at the wrong guy now.
Okay, I still have questions.
We did approve 3 part-time positions this year, but that still doesn't cover like a 24/7 ambulance service right now.
This was like 4:30 in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
You think it'd be
5:48.
5:48? Okay.
Yep, I just left about 15 minutes before.
Yeah, one extra thing, the Tipton police were there in just a matter of a couple minutes. They were terrific. Couldn't say any better on them. But I just don't understand when we got these bunch of ambulances sitting over here, no response. Bennett had no EMTs. Tipton didn't either, so why couldn't somebody else from Tipton just drove the ambulance? Rather than sit there for half an hour or whatever, waiting for the Bennett to get there. Is there any reason for that?
I don't know anything about this part of the scenario, I'm sorry.
Can I ask the question, or do I have
No,
to
you're
schedule?
fine.
My question is who's on duty per se? You say 5:30. I think it was a little sooner than that because I was the one who was in pain.
Yeah, the research I've done I think it came in around 540 to 548, somewhere around there. That's what my numbers that I have in the back of my mind show. I stayed till 5:30, so it didn't come in at 5:30. But this is one of those gaps that we really struggle with on those hours where our paid staff leaves for the day and our nighttime staff come in. With paid staff, we only have so much of a budget, and we either throw them into overtime every single time, or we recognize there's a gap.
Well, my issue is colitis. I have no problem in telling everyone that. But I'll tell you, if I was having another stroke, which I've had, I probably would. And
That's our biggest issue.
I agree.
It's something, a heart attack or stroke or something.
there's gotta be an
Something needs to
answer.
be done.
I don't expect you to have the answer. We've gotta work on this. It can't be slid underneath the table. We've got to do something about it. We're a small town, we have good equipment, we have good service normally. But if you happen to fall in what you call
Non-coverage area.
non-coverage area, there's no excuse as far as I'm concerned. We have to do whatever we have to do. I can't do it on my own, but I'm here to try to help anybody that's in this type of position, because it ain't pretty.
I just want to say, I'm very glad it wasn't worse for you.
Thank you. I am too. And my apologies. It was bad situation for what I even had, let alone life or death. I'm not here to argue, I'm not here to actually complain. I want everybody to understand, I want to be the first one on the docket to help this not happen again. My other question is, this gentleman that's standing here, he left at 5:30. At 5:30, who was the EMT that was supposed to be there?
We didn't have anyone scheduled for the rest of that shift.
And when does that shift end?
6 p.m.
Well, and I'm not gonna argue with you, but if I look at the records that I was entered into the hospital at Mercy, I think your timing is off.
It could be.
I'm saying I think it is. I'm not going to put you in a bad position by going out there and confirming that, because I'm not here to put you in a bad position. I'm here to get something done.
I appreciate that. This is a struggle, and this is the thing that keeps me up every single night, and keeps our volunteers up, and truthfully, the council up every night. The tough thing with this is these resources are expensive, and there's only so much to put around, and we're trying to juggle 1,000 things here.
I'm
And-
trying to say, though, that I'm wanting to let's work at figuring something we can do to have EMT coverage,
I agree.
whatever it is. And I'm sure there's a majority of this town that would agree with me, because someday it will be you.
Oh, yeah. Or someone you
Young,
love.
old,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter anymore. It
Mhm.
seems like we've got to do something. And I'm ready to help.
Okay.
I wish I could be more help, but I'm getting too old. But something's got to be done.
Thank you for sharing.
Yes. Yeah, as they said before, sorry for,
Thank you for sharing. Appreciate it.
sorry. We'll work on it.
I'll do anything I can do to help get something done, because it will be one of your loved ones eventually.
I appreciate that.
Unfortunately.
Thank you. on? You can say that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Before I say what I came to say, I want to say that a couple months ago, a good friend of mine had an experience just exactly like Janet's. It was really, really bad, and she's still raving about it. Somebody's gonna die. It might not be that long. And when somebody dies because of this, the city's gonna be sued. I mean, that's almost a virtual guarantee. But I'm here to talk about the article in the Gazette this morning. And I was, when I got to the point of reading that someone in the city had contacted Bobby Kaufman, I nearly fell out of my chair because I don't understand that, first of all. Somebody at that table contacted him, so raise your hand if it was you.
I was one of them.
What was two?
Yeah.
I guess my feeling is Bobby Kaufman is elected to represent all the people in the district. I don't think he's elected to represent cities. And I think there was probably a better person to do that, but it was definitely concerning. And I've talked about this before. I have a concern that you just don't want to listen to people who have complaints. I think Carol Last has made some very valid points. He's a very smart man. And perhaps it's a good idea to listen to the citizens. That's it.
Thank you, Mary. Yep.
Larry Hodgson, 226th Street, Tipton. And I was all prepared to come in tonight and turn in my petition for the utility board. And Mr. Wagner was kind enough to send me the information on tonight's agenda, which indicated you're bringing that up as a subject later on with the September 9th deadline for that. And so I'm going to hang on to those petitions and I will turn them in by the end of August, which gives me another week and a half, 2 weeks to collect more signatures, which I'm having a great success in doing. And so I'll have way more than enough, which might, you can go ahead with your objection board if you want, but I don't think you'll need it. But anyway, appreciate it.
Thank you. Seeing there is no one else for the unscheduled portion of the communication, we'll close that part of the meeting and move on to the consent agenda. These can be enacted with one motion, and they are the city council minutes from August 5th, airport minutes from July 10th, the development director's report from August of 2019, treasurers and investments reports from July of 19, and the claims register, which includes claims paid under the current purchase policy. Excuse me. Is there any of these that need to be pulled out? See, there is none. Is there a motion? McNeil with the first. Lever with the second.
Cummins?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
All right, so now on to old business, which is a discussion of possible action concerning Laura Twing's request for a $4,400 reimbursement for 425 square feet of concrete in the city alley. Brian?
Yeah, well, this came up at the last meeting, and Laura made that request and left it as an open-ended question, and since it's a pretty hefty amount, I thought the council should at least consider giving a response. So I listed it on there. If you're not ready to consider it, that's okay, but I just felt she needed a response.
I just felt she stuck it out way past the agreed upon footage of the building. And it was her project, so my motion would be no.
So McNeil's made the motion for no, but is there any other conversation or questions on this?
I guess I felt like her contract read that she would incur the costs of this.
Right.
And I don't think the city went into this at all, looking into having to cough up money for it.
Right.
It's my understanding that the change was made without the city being notified, so therefore, if there's a change made that we haven't been notified about it, it's null and void for this particular amount.
So then I'll go back to now, McNeil made first to, for lack of a better term, deny a reimbursement.
I'll do the second.
Anderson with the second.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
Cummins?
And now moving on to new business, which is discussion of possible action to do the phase one for the phased pre-feasibility study for the broadband by Smart Source Consulting. These are the guys that came and gave us two separate presentations.
Yeah, and as they left, I started to wonder, well, there are two approaches to how they would do this type of system here. I emailed and asked if they would, if they were going to each do one proposal based on how they do it, would they consider doing a proposal together, which would try to sort out which would be the best between those two for us. And the response from Curtis Dean was, as they were leaving, they were talking about the same thing that night they presented. And so rather than do two separate proposals, they put together a joint proposal that was done through Curtis Dean's business, Smart Source Consulting, but David Lamarche is part of that, sort of like a sub to that. So what they have given us is a phased pre-feasibility study. And the question for tonight is whether or not you want to proceed with phase one. And it has just a brief description of phase one. It says, during this initial phase, Smart Source Consulting in Big Gig, Iowa, that's Lamarche's business, will identify providers in the region that may have an interest in providing improved broadband services in Tipton. Providers will be contacted and interviewed to determine what, if any, broadband assets they have in Tipton, to learn more about their intentions for growth in Tipton, and to discuss parameters under which they may be interested in serving Tipton alone or in conjunction with the city. And for that, for this phase one, they have a flat fee of $5,650. It says it includes one trip to Tipton for final report delivery. It says additional trips, if requested by Tipton, will be billed for mileage and direct expenses. It then says under phase one project timeline, work will begin upon acceptance of this proposal and as soon as directed by the city of Tipton. The completion deadline can be flexible according to the needs of the city, but the scope of work can be expected to take approximately 4 weeks at a minimum to complete. And then in terms of payment for phase one, they'd like 50% of $2,825 upon execution of the letter of agreement if you choose to go ahead with phase one. And then the final 50% would be due upon completion and presentation of the report.
Motion to approve.
All right.
Second.
McNeil was the first to approve phase one, and Spear was the second.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
Cummins? Anderson?
Yes.
So number two, discussion and action, possible Discussion of possible action concerning a gas hedging agreement. Virgil, don't mind making your way up.
This is another step towards getting a discounted gas for diesel. Is authorized Titan Energy to sign contract with EFA for, like this hedging futures for discounted gas. Titan Energy already does buy our gas now. It's just,
This was the gentleman that came
yep,
a little bit ago, yeah.
yep.
All right.
You boys done pretty well with the hedging, have you?
Yep. We try to get most of our contract gas through Ventura, because we have transportation from Ventura, our DMAR. Ventura supplies Chicago, so if you have any real cold weather, some real high spikes, you don't want to be susceptible to that going on. So that's why I try to contract everything
Yeah.
through Ventura,
I think it's wise.
because they had $100 gas. Last month they had over $100 gas. We had those record cold days.
You feel this is gonna be beneficial to the city?
Yeah, this is a 20-cent discount. And I think there's another 10 cents that, they
Well, I don't know
still
anybody else that knows more about it than you do, and I trust you.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Russ.
All right. There's no more questions for Virgil. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Lieber with the first,
Second.
and Anderson with the second.
Lieber.
Yes.
McNeil.
Yes.
Cummins. Anderson.
Yes.
Spear.
Yes.
Thank you, Virgil.
Thank you.
Thanks, Virgil.
Thanks.
Keep up the good work. Appreciate it.
So the third one tonight is discussion and possible action setting a due date of noon on September 9th for the presentation of the November 5th election ballot petitions to the city clerk. Right?
Yeah, this, as your synopsis said, was a date recommended by the city attorney. Now, in the time I've been doing this kind of work, I've never known of this petition deadline and then the next one on an objection group. But since we knew that a petition was likely to be presented, I asked the city attorney, if that happens, is there anything special that we have to do? And so this was the result of that. So one of the things that has to be done is that you should set a due date for this petition or any petition that is also out there that we may not know about, and give enough time for 5 working days of other people to submit written objections. But I can talk more about that in the next motion when it comes up.
All right. If there are no questions for Brian, is there a motion for the due date of noon on September 9th?
So moved.
Spear with first.
Second.
And Lieber with the second.
McNeil.
Yes.
Cummins.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Spear.
Yes.
Lieber.
Yes.
All right, number 4, discussion of possible action to appoint an objection review group. The council's representative chosen by a ballot.
Right. On this, the law that the city attorney brought up said that when somebody files a petition, there's a 5 working day period of time which people, if they want to, can enter written objections into the validity of the petition. Now, that doesn't mean that a person disagrees with the idea behind the petition. It's not about that. It's about things like if they, say, examine a petition and they think there's duplicate signatures, or they think there are people who signed that aren't living within the city, that type of thing. So it's more of a technical level. The law has a bit of a quirk to it. It says that this objection review group is to consist of the mayor, the city clerk, and 1 council member chosen by the rest of you. I don't anticipate that there's going to be a need for this group, as Larry mentioned, but who knows? Who knows what might happen, when you get a petition and a petition's coming. So this is the opportunity for you to appoint that group and the council's representative. Well, it does mention the use of a ballot, but the way the city attorney put it was, if we do a ballot, we would have like a slip of paper with all the council members' names on it. And then the slip of paper would be signed by the council member who voted, because you don't have secret ballots when you're voting like this. So the question would be posed, who wants to be the volunteer? And then whoever says, I'll be the volunteer, everybody would vote for them on the ballot, and then they'd be counted up, and then that person would be appointed.
No, I appreciate it.
So we don't have a ballot tonight, but I think we can sort out your intentions if you want to include someone from the council along with the mayor and city clerk.
So is there anybody who feels like they want to be included?
Yeah.
I vote for Tim.
I second it.
All right. Then there's been a motion and a second to appoint Tim to the objection review group along with myself and the city clerk.
So moved.
Yep. Well, Regina made a motion for herself. And then I think Spear.
Abby made the motion.
Oh,
Yeah.
Abby, sorry. And then Spear.
And I second it.
Cummins?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Now, then, number 5, discussion and possible action concerning approval of the updated personnel policy and procedure manual.
This is something that Melissa.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
A while back, you had given us approval to use the city attorney to go through the personnel manual and do any updates that were needed. So that is what this is being presented to you for. She just went through and made sure that everything complies with current codes and laws. Any requirements that needed additional information or needed to be expanded on, she did that.
And what were the highlights, Melissa?
FMLA had some requirements that she expanded on. There was a sexual harassment policy that went into a little bit more detail of the procedures within that, and then the drug and alcohol testing effective in January. There was some more requirements and a database that we need to have access to, so that explained that in there too.
All right. If there are no questions from Melissa, is there a motion to approve these changes? Anderson with the first,
Second.
and Spear with the second?
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
Cummins?
Yes.
All right. Number 6, discussion of possible action to approve a closure in the alley behind Citizens Bank for customer appreciation on Thursday, September 19th from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. 9 p.m. Be 6 hours long. So, if nobody has any questions or discussion on that, seems pretty straightforward. Yeah. Leeper made the motion. And McNeil with the second?
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
Cummins? Anderson?
Yes.
All right, and number 7, discussion of possible action concerning moving the next council meeting to Wednesday, September 4th at 5:30 p.m. The next one will be on Labor Day. There are no objections. Can everybody free on that Wednesday night? All right, is there a motion?
Yep.
Cummins with the first, And Lieber with a second?
Lieber.
Yes.
McNeil.
Yes.
Cummings.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Spear.
Yes.
All right, so that takes us down to the report section. Mayor's report, school starts on Friday.
Oh, yeah.
So please watch for kids running around the city. Thanks, Steve, to your Public Works Department. They've been painting lines overnight to get the crosswalks and everything all in shape for those kids. That's it for me. So, council report?
Nobody else has anything to say, I do.
Yes, Ross.
It's not something that really makes me feel like I'm opposed to opinions. But some opinions are opposable, no matter whose they are. I was recently approached by a city of Tipton employee who was unhappy with people telling him how he should be doing his job. In the first place, these people have no experience in doing his job. My personal opinion about his knowledge of his job cannot be understood by anyone who does not have the training or experience this man has. The man is to the point of where he is fed up with people telling him how to do his job, and I can't blame him. Nobody came to my business and told me how to do my job when I had my business or when I was working for someone else. If you're one of these people, my advice to you is when you have the education and years of experience this man has, then you can ask questions about his abilities. Until that time arrives, keep your opinions to yourself so you don't keep showing how stupid you really are. If you have your head stuck somewhere the sun doesn't shine, here's some advice from two past presidents of the United States. Abraham Lincoln said, "It is better to remain silent and thought a fool than to speak up and remove all doubt." Harry Truman said, "It's what you learn after you think you know it all that really counts." Enough said.
Thank you, Ross.
If the shoe fits, wear it.
Thank you, Ross. Plenty to think about there. Is there any reports from any committees? City manager's report?
Yeah, briefly, I wanted to mention in the city's request to ask Bobby Kaufman to contact the auditor's office. As I recall, Melissa and I had talked to a member of the auditor's office on speakerphone call. And when we heard of this complaint or concern, we called there and we wanted to get an idea of, better idea of what they wanted done and tell them how we do it and this purchase policy that's been around since 2003. And we both came away from that speakerphone call thinking that what we were given was an option on how to handle the types of claims that are mentioned. And in fact, I think we went to the finance committee and asked what they wanted us to do. Did they want us to do anything different because it was an option? They said no. They recommended the council, do you want to do something different? And the council said no. And so we kept doing the purchase policy as we had them. Then time goes by and we find out that the person in the auditor's office wasn't telling us, or didn't mean to tell us it was an option, that it was something we had to do. And we wanted to call back because we both heard that it was optional. And we couldn't get a response. And I think you tried a number of calls, you tried a number of emails. And so we asked Bobby Kaufman to help us get a response. I mean, he felt that he was helping the people who elected him. Now, when we finally did get a response, then along the way through his discussions with not the person that we talked to, but the actual state auditor, we found out through them that Carroll had not only the one complaint, he had 10. He had 10 complaints over a 2-year period. The one was founded, 9 weren't. Now, it was mentioned that, you know, basically you should just keep them coming. Well, we're here to provide information, yes. We're not here to create documents or review homemade spreadsheets or confirm or deny or disprove one's theories or conspiracies or whatever else. When you have a limited staff, limited funds, limited time, but apparently endless requests to do these things where the problems are never solved. Once you try to address one, here comes another one. That makes it tough. It makes it tough to get city work done and respond in the way you think you should respond. So yeah, it becomes trying when 1 or 2 or 3 people are occupying more of the staff's time than all the rest of the 3,200 people in town. So I would hope that people would use some kind of judgment and focus on the things that matter to them most, and will provide it. I mean, I've never liked the idea of having the city charge people to do things. I know it can be done, cities elsewhere do it. I've never liked doing that, and I've avoided doing that here. I haven't done it here. But I have heard from you that if those requests don't stop, then we should get more into that. Again, I don't want to do that, and if people could just focus on the things that are the most important to them, you know, not just curiosity items that are 1, 2, 3, 4, but occasional. It would help us a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner.
I would like to add to that, that I absolutely agree with you that there were 9 baseless complaints. In my opinion, those are time wasters. They're wasting valuable time of our employees. I am also sitting up here saying that I don't think there's anyone who sits up here that doesn't want to do the right thing. And so when it's pointed out to us, we will make corrections. We will find out the way that it needs to go.
Well, and just when we found out that, okay, now we've got to change it, we got to do it different, like was effective here tonight on the agenda, where it says under 5, under consent agenda, it says claims register, which includes claims paid under current purchase policy. That's those things that the complaint or concern were about. So Melissa worked on this, yes. But as I was quoted in the paper, among all the things that we are trying to do, this didn't jump to the top of the list. And I have a feeling that there was an expectation that it should have. Back at that time, she was mainly doing the budget. And then there were other things that we were doing that I can't think of that probably we felt were more important, although she did work on this in the background as she was doing what I thought were more important things. So anyway, I just wanted to add that after you mentioned that.
thank you, Brian. And moving on to department heads.
On a positive note, I'd just like to say that we've got the street work, the asphalt is pretty well completed now. It's all done actually, and some of you may have noticed that Holly was in town and did seal coat work on several blocks, as well as the parking area at the soccer fields east of the aquatic center. That's all been redone, regraded, and a double seal coat. Nothing's been done there since Ragbri in, what was that, 2008? So, and we had let that go for financial reasons, basically. It was hard to keep up with that. So that's all been redone, and that was something that was scheduled, that was approved when last winter. They're just finally getting here. Last spring was just a nightmare for most contractors, and they're about 2 months behind. So they're here, and the end of last week and today, and I think they're probably gone tomorrow. So anyway, we've got some more surface to drive on that some people like. Thank you.
All right.
Any questions?
Thanks, Phil. Looks good.
I drove a couple of those streets today, Steve, they look great.
Yeah, I like
A lot smoother, that's good job.
All right. There's nothing more for department heads. We are to adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Anderson with the first and Lehman with the second.
McMorro, Cummins, Anderson,
Yep.
Spear.
Yes.
Leeper.
Yes.
All right. We are now adjourned. Thank you.